My first scarf. Step 1. We're going to make a slip knot. Pull the yarn through the loop, like so. Again, make a slip knot, make a loop, and put long end of yarn through the loop. You can adjust the size of it by pulling on the two ends of the yarn. Pick up the knitting needle and put that first loop, this is your slip knot, put it on the needle. We're going to count it as your first stitch. And we're now going to cast on 11 more stitches for the total of 12. This is how to cast on. You wrap the yarn around your hand and put it on the needle, and then adjust your tension. Again, wrap and put it back on the needle. Don't pull it too tight. If that happens, loosen it up a little bit and keep going until you have 12 stitches total. You can also wrap the yarn around your finger if you find that easier. When you're done, make sure to count. So we have 12 stitches on the needle. We're now ready for step 3, the knit stitch. Pick up your second needle and insert it through the first stitch from left to right. Take the yarn, wrap it around the needle, and pull it through that stitch, and then take it off. It's a simple 4-step process. Step 1, insert the needle. Step 2, wrap it around the needle. Step 3, pull the yarn through the loop. And step 4, take it off the needle. In, yarn over, pull it through the loop, and take it off the needle. Again, in, yarn over, pull it through the loop, and take it off the needle. In, yarn over, pull it through the loop, and take it off the needle. In, yarn over, pull it through the loop, and take it off the needle. Make sure you always insert the needle from left to right. In, yarn over, pull it through the loop, and take it off. In, yarn over, pull it through, and take it off. In, yarn over, pull it through, and take it off. And keep repeating until you're done with every stitch on the needle. Your last stitch is done exactly the same way as all previous stitches. You just knitted your first row. What you're going to do now is flip the needle. Now you're ready for your next row. So step 4 is repeating these rows until you have only about 36 inches of yarn left. So when you're starting the next row, it's very important that you don't twist the yarn by accident. So make sure every stitch is aligned and everything looks the same, and count them. After every row, when you're a beginner, we recommend that you count to make sure you're still at 12 stitches. And then we repeat the process. This stitch is called the knit stitch. So you're just repeating. When you insert the needle, make sure you always go perpendicular and your right needle is on the bottom. Don't go in parallel or don't try to go on top of the left needle. Always insert it at a 90-degree angle. And don't pull the yarn too tight. If that happens, loosen it up a little bit. In, yarn over, pull it through. So don't attempt to knit with your tips. Make sure you insert the needle all the way and only at that point release. If you knit with your tips like this, it will cause your stitches to become very small, and the knitting will become very tight and uncomfortable to knit. So make sure you insert the needle all the way in, yarn over, pull it through the loop, in, yarn over, pull it through, and take it off. Again, when you're done, you want to count the stitches, make sure you align everything. Every stitch has to look the same. And then we go on to our next row. When you finish first ball of yarn, you simply join the two ends, one from your first ball of yarn and your second. You can simply tie it into a knot. And then you just keep going. And you can sort of tuck in the ends inside between. When you're down to about 36 inches, another trick you can do is if you have about 4 times the width of your project, that's how much yarn you need for your last step. Step 5 is the cast off. We start by knitting 2 stitches, 1 and 2. Then you take your first stitch, you pick it up with the needle and pull it over your second stitch. Then you knit 1 more. Again, we have 2 stitches knitted. You pick up the first and pull it over the next stitch. Again, knit 1. We have 2 stitches on the right needle. You can also pull it with your fingers, either with fingers or with a needle. Make sure when you're casting off, you're doing it a little bit more loosely than even the knitting, or your edge is going to be uneven. So have your stitches a little bit extra loose. And then you keep going until you get to the end of the row. When you're down to just one stitch, you take the tail end and pull it through that last loop, like so. And then you can simply hide those loose ends in between the stitches. So this is called weaving in. You're just going in and out until you don't see the tail end anymore. And you can do the same thing for any ends that are sticking out. So when we started the project, this was our slip knot, and it also has a little tail, and we're going to weave it in and hide it in between the stitches to make sure everything looks nice and neat. And you're done. Congratulations on your new scarf.